Good morning students. I am Kranti Wadhwa from the Department of English, College Hansraj Mehla Mahavidyalaya, Jalandhar. So today I take up a question from the syllabus of MA Sem 3, MA English Sem 3 with the paper is Indian Writing in English and it is paper 14 of course, and the poet that I pick up for today is Kamala Das. So Kamala Das as a social rebel with special reference to her poem The Invitation. So this is my topic. So before we come to the poem, it is important to understand something about the poetess, know something about her so that the background is clear to you. Okay, so as far as Kamala Das goes, she is known as the mother of modern Indian English poetry. She lived from 1934 to 2009 and she wrote under the pen name of Madhavi Kutti, and the languages that she wrote in were Malayalam as well as English. In 1999, she converted to Islam, renaming herself Kamala Suraya. So, as you all know, she has always been a source of inspiration for women struggling against male sexual oppression and domestic coercion. So, this prominent theme of women struggling against sexual coercion is something that you would find in nearly every work of her, be it poetry or be it some other article. So she makes a confessional note about all these things, a confessional poet, we call her, an unconventional poet, and she makes a true assessment of her life and is criticized for her nakedness in depicting sex life through a bold treatment of sexual life and description of love making. Of course, there would be many people praising her for it, admiring her works, but she has critics also at the same time. And she stood against the dictates of the society, repelled like an iconoclast. Iconoclast means a breaker of images who breaks the established images, and she wanted the women to rise against all this oppression and raise her voice. So we can call her a feminist poet, feminine poet also, bold and unconventional in her outlook. So her search for genuine love, not lust, is the basis of most of her poems. Most of her poems, she asserts that what women needs is love, real love. That is what is lacking in her life, missing in her life. And like Virginia Woolf, her range is very limited or narrow. We come to that a little later. She wrote openly about female sexual desire. So that is the special characteristic about her poetry. So, searching for genuine love, as I just told you. So, her autobiography, she wrote an autobiography by the name My Story, another book, Alphabet of Lust. So, these are some of her important works which have been, you can say they have been discussed at various platforms by various people. And this My Story is a daring, intimate work published in 1976, and it did not escape the eyes of the critics. So many people, they criticized her for it because some of them dubbed her by saying that it was an obscene work and therefore she was an obscene poetess. She received many literary awards, including the Asian World Prize for Literature in 1985. So, as I have mentioned earlier, also, her range was narrow and her focus is mainly on the emotional turmoil that was felt by women. So, as a pioneer of modern poetry, she has contributed widely in the growth of language. We know it very well. As a feminist poet, her frankness and oppression is unique, and in her poems, she mirrors them through the use of confessional mode. So, that is the main mode that is used in her poetry. So, there is a critic, Robert Phillips, who observes, what is confessional art? First of all, confessional art, whether poetry or not, is the means of killing the beasts which are within us, those dreadful dragons of dreams and experiences that must be hunted down, concerned, and exposed in order to be destroyed. So, there are many complexes inside us which we try to hide, which we try to, efface, but that should not be done. Instead, when we come out openly and express ourselves through our confessional mode, probably we are at a better place and we feel little relieved also. So therefore, this mode should be adopted too. It is, supported by many writers. The sexual humiliation she suffered at the tender age of 15. She got married at the age of 15, we all know. So on her wedding night, she suffered this humiliation, and this became the central concern in her poetry. She gives expression to it without any feeling of guilt. So she's very, very open about all these things. And then there are certain poems in which we find these type of references directly or indirectly, and her special attachment with her maiden house, her grandmother's house, which remains with her, throughout her life. So that nostalgia is very, very strong. So in poems like The Grandmother's House and A Hot Noon in Malabar, both of them supposed to be very, very nostalgic poems, she deconstructs the concept of love. So love is not only physical love. Love is a sort of spiritual love. Of course, you reach the spiritual through the physical, that's a separate thing. But simply enjoying the body, and that too, in a lusty way, it cannot be called love. And she provides a catharsis through the nostalgic memories, and these, provide her catharsis. She gives expression to the emotional turmoil she confronted throughout her life. So in these particular poems, so there's another poem by the name The Introduction. So in that poem, she challenges the very institution of marriage, where the strong patriarchal setup destroys the identity of women. So there is a cry for preserving gender identity. So this is the main topic which she picks up in every poem as a theme in one way or the other. So it is not only the revolt of women that is required, but an understanding which should come within womanhood, that she is to rise and she is to express herself. So coming to the poem Invitation, so as a conventional poet, she also figures as a social rebel in the poem The Invitation, just as she is a social rebel in most of the poems. So this poem, The Invitation, it is in the form of an imaginative discourse, a sort of a discussion, a sort of a dialogue between two people. And who are those two people? These are the persona in the poem and the sea. The sea is the second, participant in this particular poem. And this invitation, it was published in Kamla Das' second volume of poetry, The Descendants, that was its name, and it was published in 1967. So in order to understand a particular characteristic of a particular poet, it's very, very important to study the poem also. So therefore, I take up the poem The Invitation, and of course the text of the poem is also very essential on the screen so that we can study it properly. So taking up The Invitation as a poem, the text is before you and you can see it for yourself. So the poem is The Invitation, and by invitation we find the sea and the women or the persona confronting each other. The women is under stress. We can probably imagine, that the women must be the poetess herself, but it is a persona that she has created in this poem. So as a social rebel, she is very, very upset right in the beginning. We see it is Sunday, and Sunday is a time of relaxation. But for this particular woman, for the persona of the poem, Sunday is not a time of relaxation. Instead, it is a time for participation in loveless sex, and therefore it is giving her an acute headache and she is upset. So the sea is the other participant, which becomes active, talkative, and discusses various things with her. In a way, the sea also becomes a symbol of a death wish. So death wish, as we feel, is something which is very, very universal. All of us come to these difficult moments and think of giving up our life many times, but it remains dormant most of the time. So here the poetess or the persona revolts against this type of feeling. So this death wish is represented by the sea which talks, has a dialogue with the participant, with the character here, or with the women, the persona, and the sea tempts the persona to commit suicide. It says that it should come and join it. It will become something very treasure full of treasures, and therefore it wants it to join it. And then it also tells the persona that she is leading a meaningless life, and this meaningless life should be given up. So there is an invitation to merge in the seas. So in other words, it is a wish to commit suicide. It is a wish to die. So when this dialogue is going on, the persona simply, gives a different point of view. She says she would like to live her life independently. Slide down, go away, she asks the sea not to interfere in her personal life. Of course, she has been going through loveless sexual encounters, which is keeping her frustrated. But she wants an independent decision in her life. So she tells the sea that the sea should go its own way, and she should like to go her own way. Then she has some very very pleasant memories of a man with whom she has sexual intercourse. She has been in love with that man, and here she describes that man by saying, he came to me between long conferences, a fish coming up for air, and was warm in my arms and inarticulate. So she remembers those moments when she made love to him. Both of them were together. It was a silent, intercourse, but not a word was said. But they enjoyed that time. So, but the sea reminds her that she is diseased with remembering that man. She cannot give up those memories, but she should not forget that that man has left her and gone away. And it is stupid of her just to go on waiting for that man. But then again, she tells the sea that the sea should leave her alone and not interfere in her life at all. So, as long as I remember, I want no other. So, that attachment is so strong that she is not able to give up. Why? Because the memories are very, very pleasant. So, this is the type of life women is leading today. She does not understand what she should do. She revolts, but she is unable to decide which way to go and which way not to go. So then she also remembers that she was on the bed with him. So that bed turned out a paradise for her. The boundaries of bed, which are described as 6 by 2, they were the boundaries of paradise. And after that, when both of them, the lover and the persona, went out together, the entire world, the city around it, transformed into a paradise. So the image of paradise is expanded here. But then the sea again comes with its own preposition, its own ideas, and tells her that if she would die in a natural way, what would happen? Her body would be placed, there would be a funeral, and it would be cremated, and there would be pangs of parting. They are described here with a burning head. With a burning head means that her head would be burning, she would be on a funeral pyre, and in a way, sex without love is described here. So life would be like that. But if it would submit to the sea, what would happen? There will be, everything would be cool around. Her body or her limbs would be able to settle down on the sea rock, and the sea would be offering her a cool and comforting death. So this is the way they go on talking. The conversation, continues. The throbbing, the passion, the which are very very strong, and her memories of the past, they continue with her. The heat of passion is very strong, and she says that then when they were together, all their thoughts were obliterated, blotted our thoughts. So they were completely, obliterated, and they went into a different world for some time. With that memories she is living, the heat had blotted our thoughts. Please end this whiplash of memories. Again, the sea tells her that she has just created a pageant here, one image after the other, but the image makes no sense. The sea also becomes impatient and tells her that it has waited for the right person for a very, very long time. For long I have waited for the right one to come, the bright one, the right one to live in the blue. So now it was an opportunity for the sea to make this intelligent creature, this intellectual creature, a part of it. But again, there is a reaction. There is a sort of an ambivalence that is very, very strong. The persona reacts and says that the purpose of life is to procreate. Procreate means give birth to children. So the result of sexual union is procreation. The body is destroyed, but the birth creation of new life takes place, and therefore I need that man for construction and destruction. And this creation, this procreation, this creating of life is not possible without a male member. So it is the union of the man and women which can do it, and she is ready to destroy her body through love making in order to have this creation in her life. So this is again, a sort of a conflict that is going on in her mind. She doesn't want to go, she doesn't want to leave this life, and therefore once again she tells the sea to not force her to become a part of it. So she does not want the sea to interfere in her personal life, and she tells the sea that she would not like its entry into the privacy of her personal life. But then ultimately, she becomes fed up, she becomes tired, and she thinks that now she would have to talk, in her imagination. She talks to that man for whom she has been waiting for such a long time, and she feels as if the tides of the sea, they are beating against the walls of her house in a in a fit of anger, in a very angry tone, and therefore she seeks forgiveness of her lover, and her willpower becomes very, very weak, and ultimately she says, how long can I resist? So she submits to the words of the sea, to the welcome of the sea, to the pressures of the sea at the last moment. So a sort of a conflict is shown, and the rebellious part of the women is also focused here by telling us that women should think of all these things, and it is important for women to rebel against the established society, the established setup in which the male member has made its role very dominant and she has become very, very subservient. Okay.